Hello my awesome friends, this is the express version of 40 days to PMP exam success. We're on day 29 in this one. We're taking a look at process, domain, task 15. So without much ado, let's jump on and begin talking about it. It's your buddy Phil here, project management trainer and coach. Welcome to day 29 of 40 days to PMP exam success. Wow. The time has really gone and we're moving really quick. Believe it or not, we don't have a whole lot of stuff left. We've only got 2 more in process and we're done. So this is all about managing project issues, right? I'm going to turn the light off. It's late. Just wanted you to get a glimpse of me and got to drive now. All right. So when it comes to this whole topic of managing project issues, you got to understand the enablers that are at play. Okay, there are 3 enablers at play. The first enabler is you need to recognize when a risk becomes an issue. I know that you've heard the term issue so many times that you may not have actually paused and thought of what an issue is, practically speaking. An issue is a risk that has materialized. See, that's what it is. So you as a project manager, you need to be vigilant in order to manage risks effectively, project risks, and in order to manage project issues, the key thing is vigilance, right? Now, the risk register enables you keep track of identified risks. And you need to keep your eye on the risk register at all times and ask the question, has anything here changed? Or is it status quo? Is it the same as it was yesterday, last week? Or are there changes? You always need to keep your eye on the probability and impact. And if those levels have changed, you may need to take action. Now, if the probability goes all the way to 100% certainty and it does happen, then you as the project manager, you're going to have to be vigilant to have seen, okay, it happened, it's now an issue. Your next step, you got to attack the issue. And you got to attack the issue with the optimal action for project success, because there are some issues, if you don't attack them with optimal action, ain't none gonna happen, or something slight would happen and you're still left with a significant part of the problem. So you need to attack it with all vehemence to ensure that your project outcome is what you are looking for, which is success. Okay? Still on this topic, when we talk about attacking the issue, there's certain things you have to do as a project manager, and that is gather the team members together and seek for solutions that could actually potentially solve the problem. You don't know that they will for sure, but they have a high probability of solving the problem. You need to look for solutions like that. So, how do you do this? The PMI in the PMBOK Guide 6th edition have given us a very solid base for problem solving. And this is talked about, believe it or not, in the quality chapter. And I call this the DIG-CIV approach, the DIG-CIV approach, because the letters form DIG-CIV. First thing you want to do is define the problem. What is the problem? What is the issue? Then you need to identify the root cause. If it's a risk that became an issue, then you've already gotten an idea of where the root cause is, because in your risk register, guess what? You should have documented the cause, the risk, and the effect. If you did that, then you've got an idea of what the root cause of that risk, which has now become an issue, is, right? After you have found the root cause, assume it's a risk that became an issue, right, that you already know, or maybe it's an issue that just came out of left field. You didn't see it coming, you didn't know that it could happen, and it just happens, right? If that's the case, then you need to look for what the root cause is. After you find out what the root cause is, you generate alternatives to solve that problem. It's so dark in here, you can barely see a thing. Okay, let's leave it on for a little bit. So you generate alternatives, okay? After you generate alternatives with the team using a variety of methods like brainstorming, maybe you're using Ed DeBono's thinking hat, or six thinking hats, as it's called. Maybe you're using things of that nature. When all is said and done, you are going to come up with alternatives. Hopefully you're going to come up with some solid alternatives, right? Because what you're trying to do is you're trying to generate the alternatives, right? You generate these alternatives with the team, and then what do? You choose the best alternative, and then you implement the alternative. So that's the D, right? Define the problem. I, identify the root cause. G, generate alternatives. C, choose the best alternative. I, implement the alternative. And V, verify solution effectiveness. You got to verify that indeed that solution did work. And if it didn't work, then you need to go back to the drawing board. For this day, you need to view my issue data flow. I've got an issue data flow video on YouTube that goes into the flow of what happens when you are resolving an issue. Okay, so I would highly advise taking a look at that. So, as the outline says, you got to attack the issue with the optimal action to get the result that you're looking for. Okay? As part of doing this, we go to the third enabler, and this is we got to collaborate with all the relevant stakeholders. This is not a solo job, okay? You got to collaborate, you got to work with stakeholders, you got to work with the team. Hopefully the team will be able to generate ideas, like I said, using any of those standard approaches. Brainstorming, good old brainwriting, Ed DeBono's thinking hats, 6 thinking hats, things like that. But you got to collaborate with stakeholders to resolve that issue. You got to collaborate on the approach. And that's it. That's really it. Now for the exam, the tricky piece is knowing when am I dealing with a risk, and when am I dealing with an issue, and when am I dealing with an issue log, when am I dealing with a risk register, when am I dealing with a change log. Because these 3 things, they often are combined in some way, either in the options or the question. So you need to think about it like this. A risk has been identified, it's been documented in the risk register. The risk materializes and you have an issue. The issue is an obstacle of sorts that needs resolve. It could be that your initial response to the risk failed and then the risk becomes an issue. Or it could be that an issue that was not previously thought about just happens. If the issue just happens, you got to follow the dixiv. But if it's a risk that you already have strategies for that failed, you could think of what you need to do as a workaround. Now let's conclude this session talking about the DIG-CIV concept that I mentioned earlier. When you have an issue or problem to solve, define the problem, then identify the root cause of the problem or issue, then generate alternatives. What can we do about this? Afterwards, choose the best alternative using brainstorming, Ed De Bono's 6 thinking hats and things like that, and then implement the alternative and verify if the solution actually was effective. If it was not effective, then you will need to go back to the drawing board. If it was effective, then there's your final solution. So you go back to the drawing board if it was not effective, and you generate alternatives again. Or perhaps you choose from those that were left over. All right, I hope you enjoyed this session today. If you have any questions, do let me know. But go on down to hpmexam.com because we've got brilliant offers for you. Those of you getting ready for the exam, offers at hpmexam.com include things like a half-day boot camp. And I mean, this is a very affordable half-day boot camp. We also have a 600-page book, 200-page handout, 16 hours of additional training online through our learning system, short quizzes, email mentoring and support, and daily scrums. All right, so if this sounds like something you want to be part of, highly advise you go on down. I look forward to seeing you in one of our classes. Don't forget to hit like on this video. Thank you very much. Talk to you soon.